So I've been seeing some guys who practice BJJ talk about the injuries. Hey guys, Nick here and welcome to the channel. So I've been seeing quite a few guys on YouTube talk about the injuries. Martial artists to be specific. If you check the channel Martial Arts Journey, you'll know that Rokas got a knee injury because somebody did a scissor takedown, which is one of the banned moves that no gym should be doing. We don't practice that where I'm at. If you watch Ramsey Dewey's channel, you would have come across him talking about his knee injury. However, I'm lucky because I have never got an injury that was so severe that has altered my body's health. That's to such a degree. However, I do have a list of experiences and some minor injuries that does affect me, and I thought I'd talk about my experiences and tell you guys the lessons that I've learned. So if you don't know, I started pro wrestling in 2010. I took a break between 2018 and 2021. Then also I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the year 2015, if I remember correctly. I'm a brown belt now, so I've been practicing for about 9 years. I got promoted to brown belt last year actually. So let's list those injuries and experiences. I'm going to talk about pro wrestling first and get that out of the way. So one of my first major injuries was on my left shoulder. I wrestled at a show at a festival, and the guy that I was wrestling was rather reckless. He hasn't been to training as much as he should have been, and this guy was actually a veteran. So we did this whole spot of bouncing off the ropes, and we were going to meet in the middle and shoulder tackle, and he followed through with the shoulder tackle, and as I was taking a bump, him following through turned me and I landed like that, injuring the shoulder for the first time, tearing a ligament, only a slight tear, nothing so severe. And then I think it was about 2 years ago, we did demonstrations at the CTICC at the Sports Expo, showing off pro wrestling, and I took a bump where I hurt the shoulder again slightly. I am pretty lucky that there's nothing severe with this, but it has affected me where I have to warm up the shoulder quite rigorously. I have had 2 instances where I wrestle with a hard mask. I do this gimmick called the Mask Demon. Sorry for breaking kayfabe, but anyway, there has been 2 instances where guys didn't control their jump and the mask pushed back and it went into my throat. Alright, so the last time this happened, which was actually earlier this year, I couldn't talk properly for a while. My voice was actually damaged. And, well, to this day, if I shout, right, and I teach jiu-jitsu and boxing classes, so when I shout in my class, especially with the boxing classes where people don't hear too well, and my voice gets a little bit tired and it actually I start losing my voice very easily. So that's an interesting one. Never mind, I've worked with a guy that is reckless, where he hit me with a plastic chair. Instead of using the seated part to hit me, like on the head or something, he cut me on the back by hitting me with the leg of the chair. So now I have this lovely scar from my lower back down to my butt cheek. Or on the upper part of my butt cheek. And then there's this other wrestler who would do all these flying moves, right? Mind you, this guy was only taught to take a couple of bumps, and now he was a wrestler. So now he was doing all this high flying maneuvers when he didn't have his fundamentals in place, and he was actually quite reckless. He actually gave a friend of mine a couple of concussions. Me, I was lucky just to get minor things from him delivering moves and him not guiding me correctly and doing a skew bump. And the thing is with pro wrestling, like, bumps take it out of you. It doesn't matter if you do them properly. You can only do those a limited amount of times. So, you need to be wary with who you do those bumps with. Now, especially with somebody like that who doesn't know their fundamentals properly. And this guy took me for a DDT where, he squeezed my head like it was for a leg lock, and I couldn't be guided down to take a bump properly, so I ended up landing on my head. So once again, be wary of who you work with. And the promoter at that time, thankfully that company folded, or that promotion folded, because he just wasn't running things properly, and wrestlers like that shouldn't be really given the chance if they're that reckless. Cool, so let's get to the jiu-jitsu side of things. With the jiu-jitsu, I haven't taken any hectic falls or anything like that. And, well, with the wrestling coupled with the jiu-jitsu, my most recent thing is now that, during a training session, I had a little knock on my head, and that caused some whiplash, which injured my neck in a way that I wasn't aware of. And I wasn't aware of it because, one, when I bumped my head, I had vertigo, BPPV, right? So I got a little bit of damage in the inner ear where a crystal got loose and goes through the tubes that regulate your balance. So your brain doesn't process balancing properly. It was fun puking in front of my girlfriend and her taking me to the doctor and whatnot. I was in the bed the rest of the day. Mind you, I was only feeling these effects the next day. So when the vertigo cleared, I was still getting some signs of dizziness. So I had to go see an ENT, and it turns out that an ear, nose, and throat specialist. And it turns out that there was nothing wrong with my inner ear anymore. I had a concussion. Then, I gave it a couple of weeks. And then, you start training again and you're fine. And then all of a sudden the dizziness comes back. And you get these lightheaded floating sensations. I might have to go see somebody about that if it reappears. But I've been seeing a physio because this has been occurring when I get spasms in my trapezius and in my neck. So I go to the physio, I have to go get x-rays. So it turns out because of the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu, my C5, 6, and 7, the vertebrae in my neck, those have been becoming smaller because I've lost the lordosis, the slight curve in my neck. And as a result, that becomes smaller, and now my trapezius overworks itself into a spasm to support my neck. And luckily I do have a strong neck. Then the other thing is my C2 and C3, the gap where the nerves go through has been getting smaller. And then the ligament where my spine starts attaching to my skull on the left hand side has been slightly damaged. So that's also recovering. Mind you, this bump in the head happened like 8-10 weeks ago, so I've got another 4 weeks left of recovery. So I'm doing a lot of isometric exercises for my neck now to help my neck recover. But unfortunately, this is not going to get better, but I can prevent it from getting worse. But as the physio says, it's not a big of a deal because my neck is still looking better than most people that have been sedentary their entire lives. So that's great. And mind you, I actually started boxing when I was 16 in 2006, and that was my first experience with vertigo. So this last one wasn't the first time. The first time was when I got a right hook to the ear, and yeah, lovely time. Also, BPPV coupled with a concussion. But then I was younger and I recovered a lot quicker. This time it's just so much. Because now it turns out that my neck can't really take whiplash that well. Do sport, they said. It is healthy. Not really. This year has been quite a few medical expenses for me. Not just the x-rays for my neck. Last year, I did a jits comp and I ended up winning gold. First match, I tapped to an armbar. I got caught with the armbar on my right arm, and I let my opponent hold on to it a bit longer than I should have. I should have just tapped a bit earlier, but as a result, I tore a ligament slightly. So once again, the process of going to physiotherapy, getting x-rays. Now the x-rays picked up something that looked like bone fragments. Alright? So now I have to go see specialists, and then it's like, no, I have to go get an MRI. Anyway, going through the public health system, where I made an appointment for an MRI last year, I only got that MRI earlier this year, like around March, April. Going through public hospitals is much cheaper, but it's still a bit pricey. So just the medical expenses alone for that. And it just turns out that the x-rays were wrong. There were no bone fragments in my elbow. And mind you, that was like quite a worry, because if there were bone fragments, that means my cartilage in my elbow is going to be damaged, and then it's risking arthritis. But it just turned out that there was a minor fracture of the radial head at the elbow joint, which it was healing. There's no pain, so the doctor said you don't have to worry about it. I have good mobility in my elbow, and it's stable enough. It's healthy, so I don't have to worry about it. Now, I've got an appointment for a tooth to be removed. So listen to this, alright? There have been a couple of times rolling, right, where I haven't worn a gum shield. On one occasion, I got caught in side control, and this person put a lot of pressure into my jaw. Ended up chipping my tooth. That tooth got a cavity, and even looking after it, getting a filling and whatnot, the filling came out, the cavity got worse, and the tooth had to be removed. And dentists are expensive. Even just getting a tooth extraction is expensive. Now I've got another tooth over here, can't see through this mustache, that has chipped quite severely, because another time I got caught in the front headlock, and biting down, I felt my tooth crack. You feel that crunch. So you never think about it, right? Because everything's okay. Now mind you, earlier this year, a piece of the tooth falls out. Like, oh no. And then when I got this tooth removed, which was like 2 months ago, a bigger chunk of this tooth removed. So I know now, okay, this tooth is going to have to be extracted eventually. These toothaches started happening last week. So yeah, wear gum shield. You can prevent unnecessary medical expenses that way. Let's bring this home now, okay? So what can we learn about these experiences? And it doesn't matter if you're doing jiu-jitsu or wrestling or pro wrestling or any physical activity, right? Which involves contact. Wrestling, I learned, I can deny a booking. If I know who I'm working as somebody who is reckless, no, don't do it. It's not worthwhile. Also, when I started wrestling again, I actually started working a more conservative style. Being more creative with what I do in the match instead of just doing high risky maneuvers. Calculate risk to reward. If it's a small show, what's the point of doing all the high risk stuff? If somebody wants to try moves that they haven't practiced, don't let them. Because if they screw it up, you're going to get hurt. Practice those moves with extra safety precautions put into place. Also, don't wrestle for promoters that don't place consequences on reckless wrestlers. It's just not worth it, because those guys are given time to shine and shine again, but at the end of the day, they are hurting other guys. Unless you're doing this full time where everyone's earning a living off of this, sure, do your job. But unfortunately, if you are an indie guy and you're making your money from merch sales and you're up and coming, you don't have to take the risk to put yourself out there. Right? You can work conservatively. You can pick your bookings in order to, slowly rise up the ranks. When it comes to jiu-jitsu, right? You don't have to be explosive in all your rolls. That's how you promote injuries. Now, recently, because I'm older, I'm getting hurt more often. Alright? It's easier for me to agitate injuries that I currently have. If there's a spazzy white belt, you don't have to roll with them. You don't have to roll explosively every time. Choose time to roll and to roll hard, and then plan your recovery accordingly. Please focus on your strength and conditioning. I am so happy that I have a strong neck because, this thing with my neck could have been a lot worse if my neck wasn't as strong as it was. I take a lot of pride in my strength training, and you should too. You should never neglect something like that. Doing sport is not necessarily healthy. It can tear your body down. So you need to do stuff to kind of correct things and, give yourself more longevity in your hobby. Or if you want to pursue this more professionally, you still need to do things to prolong your career, which is strength and conditioning. Talk to your training partners and just tell them like what stage you're in that day. So that way, you don't get injured further. Look after your body. It's okay. You're not doing this for anyone else. You're doing it for you. And you only do what you're capable of. Always wear a damn gum shield when sparring. If you go to open mat sessions, just talk with the guys there, right? Sometimes you don't know who you're rolling with, and, don't do any reckless stuff. Just say like, hey guy, my dude, I've got these problems. Let's just avoid these things. Then you should be fine. Don't let anyone attempt reckless moves on you. And the best way to do that is to talk to them beforehand. You should actually do research on the gym of the open mat that you're attending, just through your community, and talk with other guys about their experiences, so that way you can know if they are, worthwhile training at. You'll know if it's full of assholes or not that way. So yeah, that's my rant for this video. There might be some tips of advice that I have left out because I'm literally doing this unscripted. So if there's anything I left out and you would like to ask me a couple of questions, or tell me about your injury experiences, leave it down in the comment section below. Also, please give a like and subscribe if you find this video a bit useful. I'm struggling to make like the very creative content, so I'm going to do more videos like this, just discussing subjects like this and giving advice where possible, just to engage with you guys a bit more. So, take pride in what you do, but also take pride in looking after your body. Take care of yourself. Be responsible. And don't let your ego cloud your thoughts. So guys, until next time, train responsibly and take care.